Come on. Hey, everybody, welcome back to another episode of Fed Up. Joining me today is Chigger from the band Rahway. I hope I've pronounced that right.
You did.
Yay,
You
I was
did.
practicing. I'll probably butcher it as the show goes on, but well. Well, how's it going today, man? And thanks for joining us.
It's hot. It's hot here. It's hot here. I'm sitting in my nice air-conditioned office talking to you. And don't worry about messing up our name. I mean, just if you think about it this way, we like to give our music the raw way. So
Hey,
there you go.
Yeah, WWE Raw. So yeah, man. That's the best music though. When it's got that raw approach, it's got that grit in it, a bit of that soul, a bit of that fire, and it catches the attention of people. And that's something I'm going to jump straight in. That's something I noticed with your music. You've got that high energy vibe. It's still kind of got that grit contained with it. And I'm not just saying this because the singer's got a Mohican at the moment. And I know, I was listening to a couple of other interviews you mentioned that you did, sorry, and people were mentioning the influences. And yes, I can hear Skid Row and bands like that, but I also can hear that slight punk rock vibe coming in. Don't know if anyone's mentioned that before. It's intentional, but it is there.
No.
So how then? It was on one interview you mentioned that you joined the band to bring like that modern approach, to bring the balls to the music. So with the advent of technology and everything digital now and being very, very clean, how then do you as a band, musicians, strike up that balance to keep it raw, the raw way, put the pun on there? So, you can say to listeners, hey, we're this straight up heavy metal rock, hard rock band. You've got this bit of grit with us. How do you go for that happy medium?
Well, I feel like we live in a world where heavy metal has become overproduced.
Oh hell yeah!
And we've been fortunate enough to work with a producer named Mike Orlando from the band Adrenaline Mob.
Nice.
And he knows what our music is supposed to be. So he has the same vision as we do. We have this vision of just creating this raw, energetic rock that hasn't been around in a while. I mean, the nostalgic bands that are out there right now, like Motley Crue and Def Leppard, and all these bands that are out there now, they're out there making big bucks playing these stadiums, right? And I'm sure you've seen it because I think that tour just came through the UK.
Yeah.
That sound is not around anymore, and even their sound right now is not as raw as it used to be, right? So we need to bring that back, and that's what we're trying to do with Rahway. The music that we're writing, we're trying to make it catchy, anthemic, arena rock, where that chorus is stuck in your head over and over again. And I've been told, Rocket Ship, Carry You, Drowning, that chorus has been stuck in their head for days, and that's what we were striving to do.
Yeah, well, that's a win. You're certainly not forgettable. It's interesting. This point has come up with a lot of guests recently from all genres of metal, right? From extreme, from death metal to straight up bands like yourself. And we've been talking about oversaturation, overreduction, keeping the balance. And one question I've been putting to people, I said, do you feel, look, people can like what they like. So I'm not going to say that all pop music is bad, that there's no one there with any talent, that, sometimes you do get the good thing slips through because it's that good, it sells.
Right.
But I feel like you're saying with that oversaturation that people are starting to look at the independent music scenes for all genres, because I think they're wanting to hear something real and authentic again. We've been fed like this popcorn full of music for quite a while now, which is very disposable and forgettable. And I think people just want to hear something real, whether it's someone sat with an acoustic guitar playing, whatever, or a band like yourself, because they're thinking, you know what, there's something real about this. So is that what inspired you all to come up with the sound that you have in Rahway? And have you seen that in your experience as a musician?
Well, I mean, I look at a lot of other bands, not just us, and I do notice that a lot of the bands are starting to sound alike, and I think that's because of the robotics and the production that they're putting into their music. Everything sounds alike, same bass line, same guitar sound. The vocals are like all using a lot of auto tune, so that's starting to sound robotic. we told our singer, we're like, you're not doing auto tune, buddy. You're singing layers because we're gonna make this raw.
Yeah,
And
it has to be.
he did it. He did it, and he sounds great on it. Even with Rahway, our writing style is very not, I can't say unique. It's we're not trying to reinvent anything. We are a band who just writes from our influences, and as you can hear, you can hear the influences that you can pick them out. Like you said, you can hear Skid Row, you can hear Motley Crue, you can hear 6 a.m., you can hear Guns N' Roses. You know, it's in there. It's all you know, ingredients in the recipe, as they say.
But that's what makes it interesting, because it's a perfect segue for me to inject a martial arts view. And it's like MMA. It's like taking bits of what you know works to make it functional and then accessible for people to present something authentic. And it's funny. I remember when I was doing creative writing at school, and I handed in a paper, and my professor at the time, you know, and I had the meeting, giving me all the feedback, and he's like, "So, Gaz, I like what you're doing," and he says, "But with whatever you write, this anti-establishment theme is always coming through in everything." And I'm like, "Hey, man, I'm a hardcore punk guy and metalhead.
Yeah.
I can't help it. It just shines through." And I didn't do it intentionally. You know, you'd get a different genre to write or a different kind of prose or something, and it was still shining through. I think there was something where it was like, he said, write me a sci-fi story, and it was set on Mars. It was like people finding all these abandoned structures, you know, the pyramids of Mars, all that kind of thing. And yet it was still coming out with this guy who was like against the ruling body, who represented NATO at the time, or you know, who were at the time on about setting a far future, isn't it?
Well, you can't help who you're influenced by, right? You know, I mean, I grew up listening to bands like Motley Crue, Skid Row, Guns N' Roses, Metallica, Pantera, and that's where the heaviness comes in. When I listen to the bands like Pantera, Lamb of God, and all those bands, Megadeth, Anthrax, that was my influences. My guitar player grew up listening to Zeppelin, Beatles, you know, Kiss. So he's got that influence, and you know, him and the drummer are brothers. Then you bring in our singer Nick, who's with the Mohawk. He grew up listening to bands like Disturbed and like the more 90s Linkin Park. So he brings that modern feel to the band, whereas we have more of a retro writing style. And then like I said, add my bottom end to it, and it just makes it explosive, I think.
But isn't that good from a business standpoint and creatively, where you can bring in, as you said, you know, as I was asking about the balance between raw, not trying to sound too polished, but you're bringing in the various approaches there, you know, amalgamating them together, present not only a good piece of music, but a good product. And that's pretty cool, because you can draw, right, this is what works from this area. So that is quite interesting. And also, as you said, people can hear those influences. So that then makes you accessible to such a wider base, which is, that's pretty damn cool. And like we're seeing at the moment that, what they're calling it, like it's either, I read it the other day, was it the second wave of classic rock or the classic rock revival? There's a lot of bands out at the moment who are playing that style. And you're definitely right about bands sounding the same, and this can go from, and hey, I'm probably going to get some heat over this, and you know, I love my death metal, but you get now, if you like band A, this is band A that sounds like band B. I only said this in another show, it's like this, and it's not always that they're bad musicians or the music is bad, but it can sound like just the original band, and I'm thinking, well, I might as well just listen to them. That's no disrespect to them. So with what you've just said about bringing those influences, is that it then, in your opinion, what you think makes you stand out from the crowd? You know,
I think that is definitely making us stand out from the crowd, because we don't sound like everyone else. I think that the sound right now, everyone's trying to be a metal band and starting to sound alike. One band's starting to sound like band A, starting to sound like band B, like you were saying. We you know, I mean, there's bands out there like us, like, you know, Dirty Honey's doing that retro thing. You know, Greta Van Fleet doing this Zeppelin sounding thing. But, you know, there's no dirty, gritty rock bands out there right anymore, except for the ones that have done it in the 80s. They're back out there doing it again because there's a market for it. I think people want to hear that dirty, gritty rock.
Yeah, I think the closest to it, I would say, is in like stoner rock and desert rock bands like Fu Manchu,
Yeah.
the one Low Pan, where they've got that fuzz and a bit of dirt there and emphasis on the riff. But that is, and again, I'm not sounding arrogant, but unless you are very much invested in that music, and this is no disrespect to them, that's not going to come across to the average, metalhead, which is a shame. So I like that you're doing. I'm getting a sense it's kind of that it is important to you as well. And you're seeing it's like it's also kind of a personal mission in a way to get this music back out there that may have been forgotten and say, look, hey, we've got some good positive energy. It's gritty and raw. Come and enjoy yourselves. As you said, I think in another interview I was listening, you like seeing girls doing, I guess, in a sense, rhythmic dancing to the songs as politely as I can put it. Yeah. Pelvic salsa. Oh man, yeah, just making everyone go.
Yeah, no, it feels good to see that. I mean, either you're singing your songs back to us, our songs back to us, or you're dancing to it.
Yeah,
as long as we get you moving, that's what our job is.
There's nothing worse, man, than seeing a band and everybody stood there, or they just. Or there's no expression. Those are the most boring shows to play. They're the most boring shows to be at. Yeah, you're just like, man, where is the atmosphere? Come on, man. And if it's good music, whatever the genre is, for me, you can't stand still, man.
No,
and you just enjoy yourself. Doesn't matter if you look like an idiot. You just
I don't want to go to a show where I'm going to want my money back. I don't want to play a show where I'm going to have to give my money back. If I'm going to have fun on stage, I want the crowd having fun on stage. And that's the way we've always been. If we're having fun, we want the crowd to have fun.
Well, that's good because that's keeping that interaction. And when I was asking you about standing out from the crowd, there's nothing worse when you see those bands where they can be really good, they play, there's no interaction with the audience. And as soon as they're done the set, that's it, backs are turned and they're off. And you feel as a fan when you stood there a little bit robbed. A little bit like, oh, come on, man. I've just traveled all this way and saved up to get the ticket. And literally that's it. And it takes that bit of the gloss off the performance, especially if it's a band you really, really like as well.
Yeah. You'll never feel like that at a Rahway show. I can guarantee you that.
That's good to know, man. That is good to know. So looking at the cover, and this could be open to interpretation, and I could be way off with this, but there's lead singers there stretching up, holding a mic, and we'll obviously get into the themes behind drowning. But did you all choose that artwork because it can represent drowning in a number of ways, from kind of even a PTSD and depression standpoint, where people feel that they are, drowning in this pit of despair, and then with the themes that we're going to explore today, drowning in this sea of kind of technology that I think is turning people into digital slaves in a way. I just wondered if any of that was behind the cover.
So when we write, we like to let our fans and our listeners, project the way they feel about the song. They could pull whatever they want out of it. We could tell you what we think it means, but when we were coming up with an idea for this video, we had this idea of having a model sit there and making believe she was taking selfies and TikTok videos with a green screen, making it look like she was in like London or Paris or something like that. And then all of a sudden, at the end of the video, we were going to have her sitting there taking her makeup off, and she was sitting there in front of a green screen the whole time, making it look like she was like living a life when she really wasn't. Yeah. She's just a lonely person living in her small apartment, wallowing in her own self-pity. So that's what the original idea for the video was about, which to me, that's my interpretation of the song. That's mine. But you might have a different one. Joe Schmo over here might have a different interpretation, but it seems like the interpretations that we're getting from people are kind of the same. I think you pretty much hit the nail on the head with what the song is supposed to be about.
Yeah, well, that's what grabbed me, like I just said about the cover, and definitely we'll get into the video as well, because there's quite a few things I noticed in it. Was even the cover, as I said, with the your singer's hand raised, and it's and I don't mean this to be patronizing here, but it's a simple but effective cover which thinks, man, that could mean so much to people, and some people might look at it and see nothing but just a guy's hand raised.
Yeah.
And then and this is what really, really intrigued me, and I really want to get us into a deep dive on this, was, as you said, kind of someone being lost in all this social media technology. And when I read about that, I thought, yeah. And I thought, it's nice that a band are actually choosing to focus on this topic, because as much as technology is great, it's allowed me now to talk to you, and it's like getting your music out there. That's all good stuff. I do feel that it is, in a sense, like I was saying to you off air, it's kind of got people in the matrix, and at times I feel like I'm walking around in this world, and you've seen people like walking zombies, in a sense, almost as if they've been programmed and absolutely obsessed with self-image, constant validation, everything. It's almost like a drug addict. And I think once they've stopped on TikTok for that night, dancing around to whatever, look at me, miming whatever, no thanks, I'm bored after 2 minutes. Anyway, yeah, my views on anti-social media are really going to shine through.
Yeah.
but it's I think once they come down off that high, and then they're faced with the reality again, where it's them in the apartment, them in the room at late at night, and all that stops. And I think, God, that's got to hit the person when that stopped. It's like they've come down off that high. Now I'm no longer in that false reality. Oh, but tomorrow I can log on. I can make a video where I'm going to dance around to this or whatever, and then get my next fix. So are you, does that concern you, whether how you see this kind of taking over with people, on TikTok, Twitter and everything, how people are always arguing, all the comments and just shouting shit, they're not listening.
I think it's crazy. I think it's crazy. Like, I think social media is it's crazy what social media has done to people, for sure.
Yeah.
And I was in there from the very beginning. I was picking fights with people on social media. I had social media muscles. But
hey, you're honest.
But then I noticed that people started to like put their whole lives on social media, their entire lives. Some people were faking. It's all perception. It became a perception. Even with my own life, I started to see that people thought like I was living this rich life. And not that I'm living a great life, but I think it's all perception. At the end of the day, when I close that camera and don't let anyone see my life, it's totally different than what everyone's perceiving. So I think that's the idea of what drowning is about. It's just all just perception. Making people see what you want them to see, and some people aren't living the lives that they wanted to, and they're out there faking it to make it look like they're living these lives when they're really not. And it's just to make the people that are following them perceive them as movie stars or rock stars or just people of the elite.
Yeah. You touch on that in the lyrics as well, like, living like, I think, a movie star, rock star or something.
Yeah.
And yeah, this is something, with relaunching the channel again from scratch, and I used to do radio shows in the past, writing reviews, etc. And just sometimes when I logged on and I see how people are behaving, and you're just like, man, I feel like like I said in the Matrix, I've taken the red pill and everyone else is still on the blue.
Right.
And I do respect that you said, you got involved with that when you were first in social media. That's honest, man. So, I respect that, because a lot of people, wouldn't. But it's a real dual side, because it's quite dangerous as well, because I still think anyone who's involved in any of the arts, regardless of the level that you're at, or especially in the public eye, there still needs to be a degree of anonymity for the family and personal lives, because there's some crazy people out there. I've seen stories of NBA stars being stalked by people, soccer players, etc. And it's pretty disturbing stuff, just like a horror movie. And I think it's almost as if people can think, right, I'll put this on there and I'm going to be, famous just for doing this, just for nothing, essentially. And this leads me to a perfect segue, and this has come up on a lot of shows this week. So as
Okay.
we're going about technology, and I'll probably have a roast on social media again shortly. Um, so, are you concerned about AI as a musician? This is a topic that's come up. When they're saying that they're going to be able to rip people's voices off, even the music. And we've got the strike going on in Hollywood at the moment regarding AI. So I
Yeah.
just wondered. I know. Look, I think AI can be magnificent used in the right context, but that's pretty worrying if then someone can essentially take your music, your singer's voice, do some digital plagiarism in a way, and then say, right, this is a song by whatever, or are we maybe just going to have to see how this pans out at the moment? I just wondered what your perspective was. Loaded question.
Yeah, that was like a
Essay length.
yeah. I don't know. I mean, if someone wants to take you're saying, so if someone wants to take one of our songs and
Yeah,
revamp it and like make a different mix of it, and come back
yeah,
with us and say, hey, this is. I think part of us would be honored. I don't think we would take it as an insult.
right.
But then we'd try to hit them up for some money for taking our song
Yeah, exactly.
without permission.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we did that with Paul McCartney's Jet on our last CD, Slumlords of New Jersey. We did a cover of Jet, and we actually had to ask him for permission to use it,
Right.
and apparently he listened to it and he liked it, and he sent
Whoa.
it back to and gave us approval to use it, so we put it on our CD.
Oh, yeah. That is no short accolade for sure.
Yeah.
Man, I think I'd have been. I think I'd have fainted if I got a reply from Paul McCartney.
Yeah.
Oh,
So Paul McCartney says, no, you can't use the song, but
yeah.
he liked it, so.
Man, that's some validation for sure. Yeah. Do you think as well that the whole social media thing, I mean, it's got way out of hand? I mean, I'm trying to navigate it through at the moment, thinking, well, what is going to work for the show? What do I want to use? I'm reluctant to even entertain TikTok about, well, what the hell am I going to do on
Yeah,
it?
I think social media has grown immensely. It's different than I mean. I started social media when it was still AOL Instant Messenger, so that's
Right.
how far and then it became and then you had MySpace, and then MySpace, and then turned into Facebook, and Facebook's been the ongoing thing for such a long time. But I think that, and I just did an interview with Miles Kennedy from Alter Bridge, and we
Well,
were just talking about like how back in the day you had magazines, so there
yeah,
was some like you said anonymity to these rock stars. Like you didn't, they were a mystery wrapped in a riddle. You didn't know anything about them. You just knew that they were rocks. They were rocking the stage. They were coming out with CDs. You didn't know much about their lives. But now I could go on Instagram. I could go on Facebook and see who's doing what. Like I can see who's dating who and who's married to who. I can see what their kids look like. I don't want to see that stuff. To be
yeah,
honest, I want to hear their music. I want them to put out great music. I put stuff on. When I'm on Facebook, I'm usually promoting Rahway, and that's basically it. Sometimes I'll throw in some like family photos just to show that I'm a family guy, and because I love my wife and I love my kids. So I'll post some of those so family members can see that, because I have family members on Facebook and Instagram as well. So, but when the fans come looking at it, it kind of gets a little scary, like you said.
yeah. It does, and I think especially when there's children involved,
Yeah,
I think there needs. I know you get someone argue, oh, well, everything's on social media now. There's still got to be a line there, a bit of a balance, because you've got to think, would you want someone showing up at 3 a.m. at your house outside going, no,
yeah,
no, no, I wouldn't. And that's pretty creepy stuff. And I think, some people, if they're in a vulnerable position as well, can get fixated and obsessed on
yeah,
sports, people to follow, and then latch onto them. And yeah, there was a lot of those cases that people can get help and like, my God, what did I do? And all power to them. But yeah, it's frightening, and I try and do the same as you. when I'm online, I just want to use this to get the word out about the show. Is there somebody interested in coming on? Yeah, I'll promote martial arts and wrestling in some movies, because outside the music, well, it's kind of obvious those are my passion. Big part.
I love all of it. I love the MMA. I love martial arts. I love WWE. I'm a big WWE guy. So,
yeah, it's a tool which it's using it in the right way, because I think it's going to be one of those questions that's always going to be with us. One, I don't think there's ever going to be a definitive answer, and it's learning to adapt and hopefully use it as a balance, and remember and remind people, like, use it in a positive way, and just be careful as well. There's some crazy folks out there, and just be careful with what you put out as well.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm not going to sit and be a hypocrite and say, well, it hasn't helped me, because how the hell would I get in touch with bands, like yourself, and say, hey, do you want to come on and listen to me chew your ear off for whatever? Right. So there was something else you said in one of the other interviews that I thought was interesting, and it was about the song Cage the Animal. And you know where I'm going this, because you just mentioned wrestling, UFC. I'm a big AEW guy myself, but I watch them all. I watch them all. I just love wrestling and the humor. And I think in this interview, you mentioned how that would be a good anthem for someone who's in the UFC and wrestling. I'm always saying exactly the same things to people about metal. How it would be just awesome. So why do you think, and particularly wrestling, I've noticed this with wrestling, there is a real close relationship with metal. There's a lot of wrestlers who are metalheads. Yeah. Malachi Black, formerly, I forgot his name, he was in WWE, huge metal guy. Yeah. Angelina Love, huge, metalhead as well. So why do you think there's this close relationship? Is it just that high energy, exciting feel to it?
Yeah, I think so. I think that that metal has just exuberates energy. So I think that the minute you hear, like, I don't know, like Triple H's song from Motorhead, the minute you hear that, you're like, wow, you're just ready to jump out of your chair.
Yeah.
Even Stone Cold Steve Austin's. So you hear that glass break, you hear that, you're like, the Edge, Alter Bridge, Metalingus. Wow, and that's why I think that Cage the Animal, it's got that UFC or wrestling vibe. I think it would be a great intro song for one of those fighters. I've pitched it to a couple of UFC fighters, and I guess they didn't like it.
Well, just keep going, man, because it's coming across the right person, isn't he? The one who's the huge metalhead who was in UFC back in the days, Josh Barnett, the huge metal guy, I think it was. Yeah.
No, I'm not sure. They're all, most of those guys are big metalheads or the big hip hop guys.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it crosses over. You can just tell, and there's something about it when it comes out with the entrance themes. It just gets the crowd going. On the pay-per-views as well, when they'll have the bands appear and they'll play a song or do songs, and the wrestler comes out there. It's the same now. I'm going to watch them because Alter Bridge now do the theme as well for Judgment Day. And it gets you pumped, man. When you hear them coming out, they're coming, and you're like, got to get there. And I get hyped. And it's kind of like the feeling you get when a mosh pit's about to start, when I hear that anthem, or you're like, oh no, this is windmill time. Yep. And it just gets me so hyper. And I just think it's just such a beautiful partnership. So when I heard you mention that on another interview, I just thought, oh man, yes, I thought, perfect.
Well, don't forget Kid Rock, American Badass for Undertaker. And then Chris Jericho has his own song, with Fozzy. Judas. That crowd constantly singing that song, Judas. Cody Rhodes' song is another metal song. It's great. So I think it's a good marriage, right? You never hear a hip hop song coming on.
No, you don't, sadly enough, because all the real hip hop now is sadly in the independent and underground scene. You hear on the mainstream, generally mumble rap, as you said, auto tunes. And look, you know, all power to whoever likes that. That's fine. But a lot of it is just nonsense. It's not what the hip hop that I like. That's got a little bit more depth to it, a bit more consciousness there.
Sure. I mean, if you think about it, these wrestlers, if you look at them, they're rock stars themselves. They're all rock stars.
Yeah.
You know, D-Generation X, one of the biggest rock groups you could see in the wrestling.
Yeah. Yeah, they all are. I mean, the Rancid, there's one of the AEW pay-per-views a while ago, and I think it was for Ruby Soho, who used to be in WWE.
Yeah.
And Rancid come out. I'm sure they come out and played the song for her to introduce her, so that was pretty cool.
Yeah, and no, she was great. I remember. I'm happy that she's over there too.
Yeah, do you know, it's a perfect question actually. Now, do you, as a wrestling fan, do you get irritated by the rivalry between the fans and the different companies, where it's like you can only watch AEW or you can only watch WWE or Impact or New Japan? I'm like, I watch them all. I don't care.
Yeah, so do I. I don't care. I like them both. I think they're both doing great jobs. I think WWE, you know, their storylines. It's all about the storylines, if you ask me. I like watching that bloodline storyline. Has been like had me hooked watching it. And AEW, they have some good storylines too, but you know, I don't think they're quite there yet, up to par as WWE. But their character development has been incredible. So
yeah. I'm more on. I want to see the wrestling first. That's why I lean towards AEW. But I do recognize the Bloodline story. That's pretty much, I think, been the best thing on WWE recently.
Yeah.
And I'm wondering if this whole Jey Uso thing with him supposedly leaving is a work or not.
I said the same thing to my wife the other day. Like, I wonder if it's a work. I can't believe that he just. I mean, then again, his sister-in-law just did the same thing, right? So her and Sasha Banks just walked in and quit. So, you know, I don't know if that's you know, they're making fun of it or what, that he just picked up and left. I'm curious to see where they're going with it for sure.
Yeah, me too, because I've been invested in that storyline. And as I said, the end of SmackDown on Friday, when he turned to the camera and said, right, you know, that's it. I'm done with the Bloodline. I'm done with SmackDown. I'm done with WWE. I'm out of here. And he walked off into the crowd.
Yeah.
And when he's now appeared on the alumni section on WWE, and of course, this has gone around everywhere. And now already people are doing memes, you know, Jacob Fadu is all elite. And I'm like, no, I'm sure there's more to this, because there's just something about it. And I'm like, I don't know here, but this is the beauty of wrestling in a way. It gets us talking, it gets us guessing.
Yeah, absolutely.
If it's a work, is it or not? The whole thing, the same with the CM Punk controversy, which I personally think is a work. A lot of people would disagree with me, and I just think, no, it is. I don't think it's a good work, in my opinion.
Yeah,
I do like CM Punk. Don't get me wrong, I'm a fan, but now I'm just we need to just move past this. Get back to the wrestling. I've enjoyed Collision since it's launched. But I'm like you. I'm very curious to see what happens with Jey, because the other debate I've had with friends have been saying, what are they going to, you know, when the Bloodline kind of civil war started, I was like, well, what are they going to do next? Because Randy Orton, we don't know if he's coming back.
Yeah.
And I thought, and John Cena, you know, he's doing his movies a lot, so his schedule's kind of limited. And I thought, well, who else is going to be kind of at that Roman Reigns level where they pretty much can be the whole face, hold the programming? And I thought, and I'm struggling to think of any. I'm not saying there's no good wrestlers or no good talents, but there's a level there.
They're teasing The Rock. They keep teasing The Rock for WrestleMania. I don't know. They teased it every single WrestleMania for the past 5 years.
And we're still
waiting. So I think that I'm waiting for Rikishi to actually show up and try to tell his boys to like cut it out.
Oh man, now that would be very, very interesting to see. That would be good.
Because now it's the three sons that are like fighting each other. It's like Solo's not Solo is fighting Jey, Jimmy's fighting Jey. It's like what a great storyline.
Yeah, it is. I was just about to say, but it's good entertainment though, isn't it? And it's worked because like I've just made it. We're getting excited. We're talking about it now, sharing that passion, and hey, that's good storytelling. With anything, if you can do that in the arts, music, movies, whatever, well, you're on a win. It's getting, like you said, with the choruses, people remembering. That's on a win. If someone says, "Oh man, I heard this band can't remember the name, but this is the chorus. So someone looks like chorus up. That's like, yeah, this is the band you mean.
Yeah.
So it's all about word of mouth. I know we're in with all digital technology and everything, and it's evolving, but word of mouth is still very important. It's still very viable.
It is very, very valuable, and that's what we use social media for. I mean, to me, social media is word of mouth.
Yeah, definitely. So, the video, as a huge movie guy as well, huge movie nerd. I'm an all-around nerd, man. Yeah, it's okay.
So am I. It's all right.
Thanks, man. You're in the right place. And people think, does this guy ever like stop talking? Go over it? Yeah, sometimes. But what attracted me to it, I've watched it through a few times. And first impression, I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation. There's a Kreischer Mansion.
Kreischer.
Yeah. Right. Thank you, man. The outside of it actually looked a bit like the house in the Amityville horror movies.
Yeah,
it had that vibe, and it was quite like it's got this creepy exterior, and then on the inside, it's almost like all these different film sets put together with various different stories. But I'm just curious, how long did it take to film and shoot, and is the kind of I'm guessing, is the movie-esque vibe there that you intended to go for? Because that came across to me. I thought these guys must be into the cinema as well.
Well, the funny thing is our manager actually does all the filming. We have a manager who does the filming, and we just hired a social media guy who actually came up with the artwork for Drowning, the one that you were talking about, the microphone. Yeah. He came up with the artwork. We just hired this guy, and we're like, wow, you're staying. You're not going anywhere. His name is Sean Klein. We have him. He's our guy now. So him and our manager Larry worked together with the filming. But Larry's really grown as a filmmaker. If you look at our videos from the very beginning to now, a lot of people have been blown away with this video. Kreischer Mansion. I don't know if I could curse on here, but that place was scary.
It's not monetized yet, so you'd be fine.
It's scary. It was scary as fuck.
It looks it.
It was haunted. It's legitimately haunted.
Oh.
So it took us a day to film. We filmed all the parts. Then we filmed all the single parts throughout the whole house. Then we shot the outside. We did like 3 or 4 takes, one with a drone up top, and we were done. We were done by the end of the day. But each of us has had some sort of feeling in there. I went in there, and we knew it was haunted because the guy that helped us find this place, he's like, "I'll get you guys a haunted house," because we were going to shoot that video with that girl, like I said, filming stuff where she as if she was like in other places. But then we took that out because we said the video could stand alone. It was so scary looking. We're like, let's just keep it the way it is. So Larry added some filters to it to make it look even scarier. I was lucky enough to be put in a room full of dolls, which was scary. But we took some pictures as I was filming, and there were like these orbs around me while I was.
Whoa, man, for real?
Yeah. And then there was also an instance where I went to the bathroom when I first got there. I was in the loo, as they call it,
on the John,
or the John, and I felt something on the back of my neck. All the hairs on my neck stood up on the back of my neck. I'm like, what was that? I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, I'm not looking in the mirror. I'm just going to walk out of here, wash my hands, get out of here. And apparently we were downstairs, and we heard some footsteps running up and down the stairs, and we all looked at each other like, what was that? We were all downstairs. No one was upstairs. So apparently there's this story where there was a mafia hit there. Not there's a mafia, but there was a mafia hit there back in early 2000s. The guy, the groundskeeper was a hitman for one of the families, and this guy owed him money. They killed the guy on the property, drowned him in this koi pond, and they chopped his body up in the basement and threw his body into this boiler.
Damn.
And apparently his ghost haunts the place. like he's trying to get out, and you hear his footsteps going up and down the steps.
Well, there's inspiration for another song for sure.
Yeah, well, it's so to say, when you say the place looks scary, it was scary.
Well, it does, because, as you mentioned with the filters on the lighting, if you look at the out, we know when you're playing outside the mansion, and it's got that whole dark. That's why I thought the Amityville Horror vibe, and I looked at it, I thought, oh man, and then inside is more, colourful and bright, as you said, with the girl in there, and that's another quite a good metaphor, because, as we were saying, it's kind of a visual representation for her being on this high. Everything is great in this falsely created reality via social media, etc. Then, if you step outside where you're playing, not that I'm saying you purposely cause horror and depression in people, that wouldn't be a good byline for the next album. But anyway, But it's interesting, because on the outside, then it's like, if she steps outside, then she's back in reality. She's come down off the high. This is what you're faced with, this kind of bleak, grim loneliness in a way. I feel like I'm describing a black metal album now, but so I think it's that interesting duality that you've got going on. And as you were telling me about this mansion, I was going to ask you about the history behind it. There's two things that popped in my mind. There's that Civil War hospital. I don't know what state it's in. I think it's possibly in the South, and it's supposed to be the most haunted place in America.
Yes, I think I've seen stuff on it. Yeah,
and I thought to go in there and spend a night and film it, or imagine as a band and say when he's over there, I thought let's just say, one, you would have to have a large pair of beach balls.
Yeah.
And think, man, that would be one of the most frightening places to even rehearse any kind of music or do any filming. Because you could go there, quite blasé, think, oh yeah, sure, and then until you're there in that we're talking about realities, in that reality, and it happens. And I have an open mind for things like that. I've read and heard so many things.
Yeah.
I mean, there was I'm trying to think. They were on Joe Rogan's show. I think two guys filmed. They made a movie, and it was about a house which is very famously, notoriously haunted. I think by a family or something. And the two guys. It's a while ago since I've seen this episode in Joe Rogan, so I can't quite remember it 100%. But they said it was hella creepy, one of the most frightening things they'd filmed, and they said the film still didn't get it 100%.
Wow,
frightened how this was. And I think, as much as I like horror myself, if you experience that in real life, you see a spirit or a black shape, or like you said with the three orbs around you, which we always hear about the paranormal.
Yeah,
that immediately makes you go.
Oh yeah, for sure. Well, this place also has so much activity that there was a show called Lockdown. I think it's on Discovery Channel, and there was a couple that actually stayed in the place to find out if there was any activity there, and they got tons of activity on tape. I think Jack Osborne actually did something there as well, and he got like some EVPs come through. So scary shit.
Definitely. Those places. I mean, as much as I find all of that fascinating, if someone said to me, right, I'll give you, I don't know, $900 billion to stay in there. So, right, can I have an RPG, a flamethrower, M16 assault rifle with the grenade attached as well?
Yeah.
And then give me an Uzi, and I want full Kevlar. In fact, no, give me the state of the art, that new armor they're making where it's almost essentially becoming bulletproof to high caliber rounds. Then I may consider it. Put a tank outside for an insurance policy.
No way. I told them. I said, "Are you sure you want to do this? You guys really sure you want to do this?" They were in. Everyone was all in. So I had to suck it up and go. The groundskeeper actually made us walk out of the house backwards, just this way no spirits followed us home.
Whoa, that's interesting. But,
I think two members of our band didn't do it, so we'll see what happens with them.
Yeah. Maybe you'll get an unwanted guest in another video
Yeah,
or 3 orbs or something. Just make it sci-fi. Say,
yeah.
oh, yeah, we are. There's some. But I was watching one of your earlier videos, and I think it was Rocket Ship, and
Huh?
that was more like had a brighter, colourful feel. But it reminded me of those like quirky sci-fi movies,
Yeah.
and I thought that was quite a fun vibe. So. Uh, as a band, what would be some of your favorite films, and which ones have had an influence on your kind of creative thought pattern regarding the videos?
I mean, I'm more of a comedy guy, so I'm like
Yeah,
not into the horror films, but I mean, uh, the rocket ship came out as more of a lyric video. We were going to shoot a video for it,
yeah,
but then our manager, actually made this anime thing out of it. And we're like, oh, that's cool. Why don't we make that the music video? Because
yeah.
we were actually going to shoot rocket ship at that mansion. That was the
Whoa.
idea. Then when Larry came back and said, here's the lyric video for rocket ship, we all said, why don't we make this the video instead and shoot drowning at the mansion? And we all agreed, and that's what happened. So so when we shoot videos, I try to add some comedy to it. As you can see in the beginning of our video for Carry You and
Yeah.
Stone, there's some just like stupid like banter. We're trying to be funny. We're clearly not actors. We're just musicians. So we're trying to bring back that quirkiness back from the 80s, like music videos, try to add some fun to it. That's all.
But doesn't it, as we're saying about adding like rawness, authenticity, it gives it that bit of realness because it's funny, man. Again, this has been quite one of the regular themes on a lot of the shows this last week. When you look at those action movies that are on TV from that time, and even ones now that are in the independent film scene, they always they can be very violent,
Yeah.
but they'll have a scene where it's like the comedy is just delivered in a perfect way. For example, I think it was Zach was talking to the other day, and I was saying to him um, about the scene in Predator 2 where the Predator's in the bathroom and he's trying to heal himself, and you've got this old lady and her husband, and the old lady's like going, I think there's someone in the bathroom. And he's like, yeah, no, settle down, there's no one there. And she's like, creeping. And she's got the big broom with her. And this is so relatable to real life as well, because we've all seen things like this. And she's coming out, and the next thing, Predator just runs through the wall, starts running through all the walls. It's like huge 8-foot alien. She's like, and he has a heart attack on the spot. Danny Glover comes running along, absolutely out of breath, needs to, obviously cardio isn't quite getting it for him. and he like, it's just the way he turns to her and says, "Don't worry, honey, I'm a cop." And she's like, I don't think he gives a shit. And then he's running after the Predator, and you just see like walls disappearing. And the poor guy gets to the top of the elevator scene before he jumps down. And he's like, and then there's that line, I think he says, "Oh, I'm getting too old for this shit," or something. And lines like that, it just injects that beautiful, like, it's unintentional comedy. But man,
Yeah.
it was like I was saying with
But realistically, would you chase a predator if you saw him?
God, no,
No,
oh, God,
exactly.
no. If my God, I think if the predator appeared in front of me, I would do my best to run the other way, and you would, if you're not in shape and fit, you're pretty much done. Because if he doesn't get you with his various weapons, he will catch you. So God no. But it's nice having that in your music videos as well, to do another reference. Army of Darkness, Ashy Volta,
Yeah.
Series 4, beautiful comedy mixed with it. It's so silly, but it's just so funny. So what would be some of your favorite comedies then, out of curiosity?
What was that?
What would be some of your favorite comedies?
Oh, Dumb and Dumber,
Yeah.
Airplane, stuff like that. All the Cheech and Chong movies are been amazing. So I like that, like slapstick comedy like that.
Yeah.
Uh, I don't like stupid comedy. Stupid comedy makes me like just like cringe sometimes. Like, you know, Jim Carrey was ahead of his time back then. He was really good. He always made me laugh. All of his movies. Um, so big Jim Carrey fan until he got
Yeah,
all serious.
yeah. I liked. Did you ever see the? I like a lot of the Will Ferrell movies as well. And there was one he
Yeah.
did.
Oh, he's hilarious.
Oh, dude, there's two instances. Did you ever see that movie he did about the basketball league that was
Yeah. Yep.
pre-AW? That scene with the
Semi-pro.
bear. Yeah, the scene with the bear.
Yeah.
I remember seeing that. That was just.
I think Anchorman might be my favorite with him.
Love
Anchorman.
that.
There's so
Love
many good
that.
lines in there.
Yeah, especially when he first meets the the reporter that he wants to hook up with, and I'll just say that moment.
Christine
Where,
Applegate. Yeah.
yeah. And this moment he turns around and I'll just say things are knocked over.
Yeah.
I love that, but it's so harmless, and that's why I love wrestling, Chigger, because it has that humor. You see,
Yeah.
yes, of course, it's so over the top and it's so extreme, but I just sit there and I absolutely laugh my head off. It's so funny the things they come up with. You know, showering people in Shimosa as they did with poor Chris Jericho on AEW, or chasing people while someone's dressed as like the Lone Ranger on a horse at one point.
Yeah.
Things like that. The infamous. God, I looked this up on YouTube, and I remember this from when I was a kid. The infamous brawl between Booker T and Stone Cold Steve
Yeah. Oh,
Austin.
yeah. In the grocery
Superman.
store.
Dude, that has got to be one of the best ever
Yeah.
moments in wrestling. It's just eggs, flour, milk,
Yeah.
everything.
Well,
man.
anything The Rock ever did too was always funny. I used to
Yeah.
love seeing his promos were the best.
Shut up.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Oh, fantastic. Wrestling. Look, I love my martial arts, but wrestling is just like with metal, it's just that passion you have, that obsession, that even if it's wrestling I don't particularly enjoy, I've still got to support it and watch it.
Yeah.
And honestly, I mean, been talking about people addicted to technology. I'm the same with wrestling. If I know something is on that day and I can watch it, the same with UFC, Karate Combat, for example, bare knuckle as well. I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch this today. It's that passion. So turning back to your music just for a moment, if people think, oh, is this guy ever actually going to ask him more about his music and stuff? I can't help it, man. I get
conversational. Like you said, it's conversational.
Well, thank you, man. Appreciate it. It's I just have a passion for all this stuff, man. There was speaking of comedy, this may be bad. There was something on another interview you mentioned that you used to sit on the toilet and read CD booklets, look at the lyrics. So, what's the most interesting thing you've read in the toilet? Yeah, I'm going to be the person that asks this.
I'm going to be honest with you. I actually wrote a toilet book.
Really?
It's called Shit Happens. It's on Amazon. It's a culmination of stories of people pooping in their pants. And I collected I have like I think 13 or 14 stories in there. So I'm the king shit. Literally.
Always ways to polish a turd.
There you go. I'll send you the link after this.
Yeah, I would like to. I bet it's heavy shit.
So that's what I read. I read my book.
I'm just thinking I've got this image in my mind now of saying my professor, oh, I got signed by this publishing house. I'm going to send you a copy of my first book. It's got in the post. Like, yeah, all those years you wasted of me teaching.
Well, it's so funny telling people I'm a published author. Oh yeah, what'd you write? Oh, a book called Shit Happens. Really? What's that about?
You're a real conversational starter, that's for sure.
Oh yeah. and actually, that's how the book came up, because I started talking about pooping. I had so many pooping accidents, and I actually had one almost had one in Paddington Station. But that's another book. But we were talking about it. My wife says to me, she goes, "You should write a book, collect all these stories, and write a book about it." I'm like, "That's a great idea," and I did. Yeah. I sold over 1,000 copies, over 1,000 something copies of it. So
whoa.
self-published.
Hey, if you ain't self-published, that's not bad at
Yeah,
all.
yeah.
Whoa, man. Oh man, just trying to recover here. Uh, what a time. Shout out to everybody. Thanks for tuning in. Yeah, I'm just covering myself while I get some. There was a guy going at the opposite ends. He used to be an active in YouTube who used to make all these like belch and prank videos, and the guy would talk and belch. And dude, it was some of the funniest things I've ever seen. Like there was one of him in a library doing it, and then afterwards he's going shh, and it's the looks on people's faces and how they react. Because most people laugh, and then others. I've seen it like with the fart prank videos, things like that. And I just laugh at that stuff, man. I mean, I'm very eccentric, so
I fall into that rabbit hole daily. I'm always looking at those stupid videos.
It's just people look so afraid as well.
Yeah.
I'm like,
that's actually what I'm looking at when I'm on the toilet. Actually looking at those videos. I'm not reading anything anymore. I can barely read these days.
Hey, if it's stimulating and it and it helps move it, I guess it works. Oh man, so who would be then? I'm trying to recover from all the laughter. I'm complaining. I literally did have a theme I was going with as well. This kind of happens. It's because I got this other. Oh, I'm going to share this horror story with you, then a real life one, and then I will ask you about your music. Don't worry. I went to Leeds Festival one year, and I remember they had this particular time. There was guys coming back from this area, and they were nearly throwing up, and they were saying, "Don't go over there, man! Don't go over there, dude!" And I'm like, "Oh, what's am I going to just say? If you go over there and you need to use the toilet, just don't look down. Just," and I'm like, so of course when they say that, you're going to look. So as you're getting there, I mean, you could smell the stench, which was already bad. And it's always the guys. It's always the guys. Because those guys, will go anywhere, I guess. And we got there, and my friend was with me. And it was like a World War I trench. There was a river of sewage I'll just say of what had been building up for hours. And I always remember sitting there and I was just going like that. I was just again like some of those comedy movies we're talking about. My friends and I'm like, dude, seriously, just wrong after you'd done it. It was the most disgusting thing I've ever seen. Of course, what do I do? When I'm coming back, instead of warning people, I'm just laughing my head off and then laughing at people's reactions. And it says something about me, I guess. But okay,
that's
folks.
fantastic.
Yeah. I think, oh man, things like that are hilarious. The other thing, when I was reading about you, and again listening to other interviews that you've done as well, and I found this interesting that you, and this does come across with what you do as well. You capture that, that DIY spirit, kind of that, which is definitely in punk rock, excuse me, and hard rock as well. So does that, in a sense, give you more creative control over your music, over your vision as well, than maybe say, I'm not going to say all labels, limit what you can do, but do you feel more comfortable going the independent route, or would you maybe at some point, if it could help, say, get a tour organized for Europe, look at label support?
Oh, I mean, obviously, love a little bit of support. I mean, DIY stuff, I think we've taken ourselves to a certain level, which is, success for our part to do this by ourselves. But, if we had a little backing, that might help make us some more money, which is what we want to do. And just to get our message out there. I mean, if we get some distribution, that will get the music out there internationally. Maybe get some good booking agents so we could play some shows overseas, and play some shows around the United States. So I think that we're stepping stones. I mean, hopefully we'll get taken to that next level.
Yeah, definitely. It's like we say, it's getting that balance, because you can only go so far the independent route, and you get some people will be like, "Oh, right, well, you're selling out now," or whatever. And like, come on, man. if you're not blessed with a personal abundance of high level finances, how are you say going to get to Tokyo if you want to do that? Or you want to go to South Africa or wherever? You still need some of that support.
Listen, I say the people who say you're selling out are the people who are jealous that you're taking a step up.
Yeah. I call them like a success parameter, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah. But you've got to, and what also comes across in your videos is you've got a good chemistry with the band members. I mean, okay, there's two real life brothers in there, which could be very entertaining sometimes because we know how brothers can argue and fight. So, loaded question time. I bet it's a loaded question time coming up. How do you maintain that chemistry? And when the brothers do fight, how do you kind of, are you ever the peacemaker?
Nah, I just look away. I just let them fight it out. Me and the singer, we just look at each other and we're like, it only happens when we're in the middle of writing new songs. Steve, our drummer, is a really good songwriter. He's really got a really good head for melodies and harmonies. And he has really, really, really good riff ideas. But then you got Dave, the guitar player, or we call him DC. He comes up with these amazing riffs. And when they get together, these two get together and they work on it together. They're a force to be reckoned with for sure. Yeah. And then you throw me in there, and me and Dave, we finish each other's sentences. He'll write something. I'll be like, oh, here, how does this sound? And then Steve will look at us and go, oh, that sounds amazing. Let's do this. And before you know it, it's the creative process. We walk out of there with a brand new song. Nick will put lyrics to it, or Steve will write lyrics to it. But we've been together since 2015. This lineup anyway. The Rahway guys have been around for a long time.
Right.
But this incarnation of the band's been around since 2015, and we've become brothers. We've all become brothers. I've known the Rahway guys, Dave and Steve, for a very long time. When their bass player left in 2015, they brought me in. We used to play. Their band used to play with my band back in the day.
Right.
So we stayed in touch, and Dave was always trying to pull me in for a long time, and I finally gave in and said, "All right, I'll join." So once that happened, we just took off. The chemistry was there immediately. And Nick has been a great singer. I can't imagine this band without his voice in it. So
yeah,
the chemistry's been always there. When the brothers do argue, it's usually because one. I can't believe I'm even saying this, but sometimes Steve has an idea and Dave has his idea. They try to put their ideas together, and sometimes they butt heads. Then they go, you'll hear, oh, you're right. Oh, no, you're right. Oh, no, you're right. No, you know what? You're always right. That's when me and Nick just turn the other way. We look around and let it resolve itself.
Yeah.
And it usually does. It usually does because they love each other. They're brothers. There were times where I butted heads with the drummer, wanted to leave the band, and we're like brothers. We brothers fight.
Yeah,
they're always going to fight.
Yeah,
but at the end of the day, you come back together and you create amazing music. So,
but that's honest and testament to the relationship you all have. If you can do that and still come back together and move forward, hell, that's really good, especially for maintaining that professional standard and for delivering what you want to do. Because there's many bands or in any of the arts where they'll have a disagreement and that's it. The breakup, can't compromise, can't resolve it, or as you said, sometimes just take a step back, let it play out. So I'm just curious, do you all then, when you come up with the creative process for the themes behind your songs, can that does it differ for each release? Sometimes can it be a week or months and it's just going back and forth until you're all happy?
I gotta be honest, some of these songs are like a few years old. We've been writing these songs. A lot of them sometimes take a week, take a couple weeks to actually put all the parts together. We'll play it over and over again until we feel that the parts are ready or right. sometimes we'll say, oh, there's something missing. There's something missing. Let's take a week to think about it and come up with something new. But some of these songs, we've played them over and over again at shows. We try not to play the new songs at shows because we want people to want it. When the CD comes out. So, but for the most part, some of these songs are a couple years old. So now it's time for us to start writing new songs for the next CD that comes out in like 2027 or something like that.
So with that being said, then if it's slated for a 2027 release, I don't know if I just said 2027. So I appreciate you might not want to give too much away here, so I'll kind of try and be subtle if that's possible. What kind of, are you going to go with some different themes for this next release, or is it going to be something different? And another follow-on point, loaded question time again. Do you draw the ideas for your lyrics and music from experiences in your life, family, the world around you as well? Does that all come into it?
I feel like everything that we've written has had to do with something in our lives at one point. Like I said, we don't interpret our songs intentionally. We want our listeners to interpret it to the way they feel like it should be interpreted. Steve is the main lyricist, our drummer. Him and Nick are the main lyricists in the band. So I feel like some of it is drawn from something that's happened in their life, or something that's topical, like this drowning song. It was very topical to what's going on today. The song "Carry You" was very topical to what's going on today. So I mean, there's no theme. I think the idea for the next CD, I think they want to do some sort of like something that's very themed. So we'll see what happens.
Curious. No, very, very curious about that. So I'm always interested in what drives bands, what drives writers, where they draw that inspiration from. The same in filmmaking, and it's surprising that people can look for that creative spark from all manner of places, because I think sometimes people can think, oh, well, they'll maybe just listen to, say, other bands in that music scene. You'd be surprised people can draw from absolutely everywhere. So with that being said, I know you're a published author with that very renowned title. We'll have to do a show on that. That would be one real shit. So when you reach those, and we all get them in anyone who's in any aspect of the art, when you get those moments where you can't think, you get that block and you can't seem to either write or play what you want, or you just don't like what you're playing or writing. So and this can differ for each person. I've asked other bands about this. So how do you, both as a musician and an author, get past those blockages?
Marijuana.
420, yay.
I mean, we sometimes you got to step away from it and come back to it. Step away from it, think about things and play it through. And we've hit those blocks. We've hit those blocks quite a few times. As a writer, I have to just step away from the computer for a little bit, think about things, take care of my kids, take care of my family, and then come back, with a fresh brain and just get back to it.
So who would be some of your favorite authors, Chigger, then?
Authors?
Yeah.
I actually, I don't read too many books that are fictional. I usually read like a lot of biographies, like a lot of rock books. Yeah, Nicky Six. I've read all his books. They've been amazing. Motley Crue's The Dirt. I'm looking at my bookshelf right here. Slash's book was great. Rex Brown's book was amazing. Sebastian Bach's book was great. So I bet, yeah. So I love the stories because I've seen these bands growing up, and then hearing these stories that happened after the shows that you were at was kind of funny. So
Yeah, it's like what we've been saying about keeping that rawness. So it's like real people, real life people who are involved in the industry as well. Would that be then something that you would be interested in perhaps doing yourself? I know we've got the sideline in the toilet side of things, I should say.
Yeah.
So sorry for yeah, I'm wearing that out now. So, but seriously, would that be something you'd be interested in doing one day? Hopefully, you know, as you progress, writing back about some of your.
Oh yeah, well, I'm a writer by trade, so I'll always write. I write. I was a columnist before. You know, I was writing music about unsigned bands, so I've been doing it for years. And I have a master's degree in public relations, so I'm a writer.
Yeah. Struggling one here, but can definitely relate. Yeah, there's something about it, isn't it? When I don't know if it is it like this for you, Chigger, where when I write, when I see everything in my mind like a movie. It's very visual, and the same with comedy. I can just start laughing randomly because I see it in my head. It's like very visual, and then I've got to get that down.
Yeah,
and it doesn't matter what time it is. It could be the middle of the night. If I don't, it will go, and it's sometimes it can be irritating because it can be like 4 a.m. and Saturday night. Go away, and then I do them like, go away, and it won't. I'm like,
just write it down.
Have to get up and
write it down. I have notebooks and notebooks and notebooks of stuff that I just jump in my head, and you know, I'm gonna write a novel eventually. You know, we'll see. You know, if the music thing doesn't take off, I'll be a writer.
Yeah. Well, I mean, man, you could still put that rock and roll into the writing as well. So
yeah,
pretty good. Like I said off air, I think if you can get as well. Again, I'm not being patronizing on one of the festivals over here. All right, sorry. Yeah, I just saw something. Yeah, if we could get you on download over here, man, that would help the band for sure.
Yeah.
So I know I've kept you quite a while, Chigger, and believe me, there was so much more that I would ask you. So I was getting excited. I haven't even got into the martial arts with you either yet. But do you just want to send out some shouts to people, let folks know where they can follow you? I mean, I'll put all the links in the video as well, and also where people can get the Merc. And I don't know if I just said about any live shows coming up as well.
Well, we have rahwayband.com is our website. Then you can find us on Spotify. You can stream all of our music. There's YouTube, Rahway Band, youtube.com/RahwayBand, which has all of our music videos. All of our merch is on our website. There's our Facebook page where you can always contact us. We're always on, always talking to people. Send us pictures, you know, the kind we like. You know, I mean, we have a show coming up September 16th here in New Jersey. It's probably our first show in a while. We're doing it. It's a small private show, intimate show, where we'll be releasing some of our brand new songs. It's going to be a room of like 200 of our closest friends. So we're excited about it.
Very, 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 very interesting, man. Yeah, definitely check that out, folks. Especially that small intimate gig as well. Those are some of the best, in my opinion. So I want to thank you for coming on, man. Hopefully I haven't given you too much of a headache. I know I can talk to the world.
Funny as hell.
You're welcome on anytime, man. You know, if I can help you and the guys, just let me know. Peeps, definitely go and support Rahway. Check them out. And I will be back tomorrow with another episode. Everybody take care. And I just want to say big ups and thanks for joining me, man. It's been a blast.
Hey, man, if we make it across the pond, we better see you. We better see you.
Definitely, man. Definitely. So, folks, see you on the next one. One love. Talk soon.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome, man.